Hey folks, welcome. Huddle up. Let's talk about this Super Bowl between San Fran and Baltimore. You know my background for the most part. I have played in the Super Bowl and I watched a whole lot of them over the years. I asked you to tweet me some questions and you have. So Jessica, what do you say we give some answers about our thoughts?
Okay, well, we are curious what your first thoughts were. Actually, William Callie was, but we all are. What your first thoughts were as you came out of the tunnel for Super Bowl III.
Oh man, I was raring to go, after we left that locker room, we're all fired up, see, but on the walk out toward the field, you're kind of giving things some thought. First thing I noticed was the crowd and the noise, the excitement out there, just breaking out, man. So naturally, it was running through the body. I got very excited, was happy to be there, and I thought, wait a minute, man. Hey, this is it. This is the World Championship of Professional Football. Yeah.
Okay, and what does that mean? I mean, I know you and I have talked about it, but...
What's it mean to me? What's it mean to a player? Well, I tell you what, all of us have been playing sports since we were youngsters, right? Whether it's football, baseball, basketball. Football, for me and these players, we've played it at least in high school and in college and now on a professional level. I had teammates on my own team, guys that have played 13, 14 years professionally, never made it to a championship game. It's every player's dream to get the hardware, to win the championship at the level you're playing. And to win the world championship of football, that's the ultimate. That's why we're there.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that we've talked about too, and I've gotten on your tail over the season sometimes saying, well, stop saying that's yet to be determined. But what we've figured out is that it really is yet to be determined. What do you mean by that? And what is the Super Bowl? There are guys that have...
Jessica, we played a lot of games. I played a lot of games in my time. Football players have. And we've learned, folks, you never know how it's going to happen. You can be very confident with your team and yourself, but you never know if somebody's going to bust an assignment. You never know if a guy's wide open and the ball slips a little bit out of my hand and I miss him. You don't know if you throw a strike and your receiver lets it go through his hands. If Max Snell runs a 40-yard off tackle play, breaks three guys, knocks him down and scores a touchdown, oh, excuse me, it's called back because your right guard flinched. Huh? You never know how these things are going to work. That's why you could choreograph and practice all the time, all week long, but when you get out on that field, you have the opposition trying to disrupt everything you've practiced. So you really don't know how it's going to turn out. If your field goal kicker, honey, he's a good kicker, he's a 90% kicker. But if that center doesn't snap the ball on target, or if that holder doesn't catch it and put it down right, he's going to miss.
Okay, and we haven't even mentioned Mother Nature.
That's right. Mother Nature comes into play too. A kicker can kick a field goal, folks, and it can start dead center and end up in left field, right? Hey, we never really know what's going to happen. It's who goes out there on that given day, makes the fewest number of errors, and plays better football than the other side.
All right, well, who do you think is going to play better football?
Oh, I'll tell you what, folks. I think San Francisco has an offense that is more capable than Baltimore's offense to turn negative plays into positive plays. What I mean by that, Baltimore's defense is outstanding. San Francisco's defense is outstanding. They're going to put pressure on the offenses, and both offenses are pretty darn capable. But the defenses are strong, and I think that Kaepernick has the ability to turn a potentially negative offensive play into a positive one with his footwork. Flacco can throw every kind of pass you can think of for the Ravens, and he has some good receivers. But I still think the game's going to come down to Kaepernick turning negative-type plays that Baltimore's defense were able to get them in a bind and turn them into positive plays. So even though I'm pulling for the Baltimore Ravens...
And do you mean by running the ball, or you just mean by doing what he does?
by buying time with his footwork,
Okay.
by buying time running around and then maybe turning it into a run, by getting pressured in the pocket, breaking out of the pocket, maybe throwing the ball downfield. Also, he's able to go left, come back right, break and scramble and throw the ball.
So he would be, and I'm sorry to go off topic for a minute, he would be one of those guys you've been referring to, questioning whether or not they should be under the same rules as a quarterback that just stays in the pocket.
Well, I don't like the idea of quarterbacks being able to run option plays and then go slide.
Right.
You see.
Okay,
but wait a minute. Now, the NFL sharp on this. They let anybody slide. A running back can give himself up. A defensive back intercepts a pass. He can take a knee. So the rule is for any player with the ball, you can give yourself up and slide. Okay? It's fair. It's fair for everyone.
Okay, well, I guess that makes it fair then. But somebody had asked about the rule changes and about how the game has changed and how things are being different. So that, I mean, are there any other rules that jump out?
Oh, folks, all of a sudden this goes back to 1978. You get this? 1978, they changed the rules. A holding penalty went from 15 yards to 10 yards. They changed the bump and run. You could bump an outside receiver, a tight end, hold him up all you wanted until the ball was in the air. And then you weren't allowed to lay a hand on him. Pass protection, run protection by the offensive linemen. They used to have to keep their fists in here. 78, they changed it. You could extend it and start pushing. The game is different.
Well, and we were talking the other day about quarterback protection. I mean, you've got to protect.
Oh, yeah. Now, these hits on the quarterbacks. You heard we're trying to make the game safer.
Right.
Because... hey, folks, first of all, the average career of a professional football player is less than 4 years.
Right.
Less than 4 years.
But also the quality of the game for everybody watching and enjoying depreciates if the quarterback's out. I mean, if you lose your first string guy.
That's right. If you lose some of your better players, then the quality of the game is going to diminish. And there is a big difference between some of the quarterbacks around the league and other quarterbacks around the league.
How often were first string quarterbacks injured when you played?
I don't know the number of times first string quarterbacks were injured.
When you think about it, were guys injured a lot?
Yes. Meantime, folks, in 1965, when I started playing, the average career of an NFL player was less than 4 years. Okay? Today, it's less than 4 years. So you tell me, I mean, you change the rules all you want.
Well, that's just because the deer antler spray's been the same the whole time.
We're still trying to get a handle on that HGH stuff, those human growth hormones. We need to knock that out of all sports and make it a level playing field.
Exactly. Well, talking about a level playing field, Daniel Sussman had asked, games between good teams or teams that are evenly matched are typically decided by turnovers. So, is there a way of talking about that, or will the outcome be determined about the football gods?
How boring does it get to hear, oh, well, they had turnovers. But, folks, it's a fact. The team with the ball has the opportunity to score points. The team that doesn't have the ball can only score one way, and that's with a safety.
Right.
Sure, you might intercept the pass and grab it off the other team. Okay, that's taking it away. A takeaway is something else. A turnover, you're just giving the opposition more chances to have the ball and take it downfield and score.
Turnovers usually go back, though, to a mental error, right? I mean,
turnovers
they can be forced.
Or mental errors, sure. A quarterback may go the wrong way, stick the ball too high, and the things drop.
Somebody's not looking when he's trying to wrap up I'm saying.
That's right. But a turnover can be caused also by a good defensive man knocking the ball out of a ball carrier's head. But what does the ball carrier's coach tell him? You should have held that thing up high and tight. He wouldn't have knocked it out of your hand. And there's a lot to be said about that. Ball carriers carrying it high. Quarterback throwing an interception. He throws that ball right where he thinks it's going to be. Excuse me, his receiver slipped a little bit. The DB comes in. Or the quarterback thinks he sees something and throws it. Or he gets in a hurry and just throws it.
I think we were talking earlier or the other day about, you had said something like, I think there may only be 5 guys combined on both teams that have ever even been to a Super Bowl, right? So what I'm getting at here is that it's going to be interesting to see how these guys all perform under the pressure of the big game.
Oh, that's right. You folks been talking about Kaepernick being under pressure. Hey, the Ravens haven't been to a Super Bowl since 2000, okay? And San Francisco, since what, 95 or whatever?
Well, and speaking of which, it's been a few since you've been, and you've got to go, Pat, because aren't you supposed to be going here shortly?
But, you know, so 90% of these players, at least 90% on both teams, haven't been to a Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay, so they're all going to be a little bit jacked up, more so than a regular game. It's not a regular game. You can't go out there and do it just like you always do it. It's the biggest game of your life. It's the championship game. You got to settle in, though. The first couple of plays, you might have that adrenaline pumping at a high edge. You want to back off a little bit. So you don't want to be too quick throwing the ball.
Once you get playing, it's football. I mean, football.
In our Super Bowl, the first series that we had the ball, I missed our wide receiver, George Sauer, who was wide open on a 15 to 17-yard square. I threw it over his head because I was a little quick. Boom! You know, I wish, when thinking I had just, okay, boom. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we will see who is left with more regrets and who's happy at the end of Sunday.
Yeah, well, I do think, folks, both of these defenses are so good. They hit hard, man. I don't see one of these 38-35 kind of scores. I see the thing being a tighter game, or a tight game, but in the 20s, more or less. And
we're pulling, though, for the Alabama guys on.
Oh, I'm pulling for the Ravens because Ozzie Newsome is a Hall of Fame Crimson Tide former player, and they've got a couple of other Tide players on there, and I kind of pull for the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Courtney Upshaw.
Courtney Upshaw, that's right, and Terrence Cody. Yeah, San Francisco doesn't have any Alabama players except one from that other college across the state named Auburn.
So roll Tide.
So hey, folks, enjoy the Super Bowl. It's going to be I believe it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great presentation. I know that. And I'll be visiting with you, I hope, after the game. Stay safe and have a lot of fun.
All right, guys.
Ready? Great.